It was mad scenes at the end of that game where 6 minutes of stoppage time are allowed, and there's a slightly dodgy free kick that Everton win, and the person you think is probably going to end up taking the free kick wanders off into the wall, and suddenly it's like, ooh, what's going to happen here? And Ben Foster left beating the ground because it beats him at the precise point where he's like, oh, the wall will cover this side of the goals and I'll stand here and just save it when you chip it at me, and then straight over his head.
People have started to overthink the defence of free kicks now, it seems. Or maybe Ben Foster just got caught dozing. Like, you think about a couple of the free kicks over the last couple of months we've seen. People have started lying down behind walls. People have started crouching down behind walls. People don't trust their goalkeepers anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's all nonsense, right? The good old days. Do you remember Ron Atkinson was a football manager? Was that well before?
I do recall the famous Manchester United and Aston Villa manager, yes.
He used to put somebody on the goal line, and it was like, oh, you can't do that because that's playing everybody on side. It's so stupid. Nobody ever scored a free kick against him. Literally zero concession.
That actually a statistic.
Zero concession of free kick calls. There was a season when he did it at Villa, where he put somebody on the line. Well, and sometimes it was like, I don't know, it was, yeah. But, I was going to say sometimes it was Little Alan Wright, but it wasn't because he was signing under John Gregory. But anyway, apparently it works. It's just that maybe in the aftermath there was a goal line scramble one time and a goal gets scored and like, oh, you can't do that. Like,
it makes perfect sense because you look at Chicharito's goal at the weekend for West Ham, and all he did was just stand level with the wall. And because his body is on the half turn, he will beat everybody in the wall to the rebound if it falls in front of him. So it doesn't matter if he's being played onside or not. Because he's in line, he will still beat them all. And he got to the rebound first, and he smashed it to the back of the net. If the opposition had actually put somebody on the line, they might have had a better chance of actually stopping that goal from happening.
The other news there on the back of the Times Ireland edition, Chelsea have banned 4 fans for Sterling abuse. Chelsea have suspended 4 fans for hurling vitriolic abuse at Raheem Sterling. They say that they will not hesitate to ban anyone found to have racially abused the Manchester City player. I mean, obviously, Chelsea didn't ban John Terry for the allegation that he said something along similar lines to what was allegedly said to Raheem Sterling at the weekend. But, you know, I mean, obviously, he was a very important asset for them. And these guys, well, they're just season ticket holders or they're just fans, so.
They didn't also have a floating head in front of them. Let's not forget that John Terry, whose head was it? Was it Ashley Cole's head? Somebody's head just miraculously floated in front of John Terry as the money shot came. Like, when it came to lip syncing, there was no obstruction for those 4 lads on Saturday evening. With John Terry, there was a ghost head, and that made things a little bit more complicated.
Henshaw's a doubt for the Six Nations. This is so what seemed like a fairly innocuous initially hamstring strain. Turns out it's much worse than previously feared. So he was initially ruled out of action for up to 6 weeks in early November, but his possible return has been put back another 8 weeks. So that's really devastating for him because he was in sensational form, and it was like who's going to play alongside Robbie Henshaw. But now it's like there's a bit of depth in it. So anyway, that's Henshaw out.
It's clearly our most injury-prone position at the moment. Like, Ringrose has had his problems, Chris Farrell has obviously had his problems, Bundy Aki seems to be the only person who's had a clean bill of health since the start of the Six Nations all the way through to the end of the calendar year.
Chris Farrell definitely the big winner in that because suddenly he's back and, well, assuming
depending
he's back.
on how big the injury is from the weekend.
Yeah. Why would Raheem Sterling be seen, why should Raheem Sterling be seen as fair game by newspapers? Daniel Taylor's think piece today. And how do you say it? D-I-A? Dean? Dine? Dean?
Yeah.
Dean at the death rescues a point for Everton. Named after Dixie, of course. And then there's this, Liverpool sent this out the other day. It was like their press department sent out the picture of, which is a bit mad, isn't it? It's like, here's a mural. We're Liverpool, this means more. Mascon Club, you know, original stuff. But the club press office sent out the picture of the mural. Not that it was like bubbling up from fans. Because like we know Liverpool fans are absolutely mad into the club, and so they must love Jurgen Klopp. You don't really need to tell us. You don't need to go and have a mural painted at the side of a street in Liverpool, do you? It's not a bit.
Unless the whole thing is a fraud. Maybe Anfield isn't a great place to go, and the press department are just so bloody good at it, and they've managed to create this fictitious environment of Anfield, and that is just part of the game.
We're going to clip that bit. We're going to clip that bit and send it out.
I'm not being serious. That it is trying too hard. It's like forced fun, isn't it? Trying to force some sort of exposure onto a mural. That's not how murals are supposed to work.
Cultural appropriation, obviously. I mean, you know, they're just stealing. There it is in the front of the Examiner this morning as well. You know, I'd say if you're up the north and you're an old mural painter, you're like, look at Liverpool stealing our murals. You know, We had to go through centuries of oppression and terrorism and all sorts. But no, they can just paint a mural of Jurgen Klopp and it's like on the side of a wall and like, that's fine.
Well, Liverpool have had to go through decades and decades of league drought until this season, of course, because they're 100% going to win the Premier League.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, 3,000 dead, but whatever. Passion play, Anfield all set for another roller coaster. Play without fear, Poch confident Spurs can pull off shock in Barcelona, of course he is. And then moving with the times, Jimmy McGuinness on his US soccer adventure and how Dublin will cope with the new rules. So McGuinness had a sit down yesterday. A life less ordinary. The lost soul of Eamon McGee wins Air Sports Book of the Year award. And I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think that like Eamon McGee winning the Sports Book of the Year award is like all grand. Yeah, I had I beat the shit out of a couple of women. What's the big deal? That seems to be like you win the book award and it's like, yeah, I wrote about it though, so it's fine now, right? I don't know. I'm uncomfortable with it. Like, I think that we as a country don't really care about fights when they happen within families. But anyway, you pay your money, you take your choice, and you buy that book if you want, or you can buy a different book. Percy has King George option if ground is unsuitable in Ireland. So, presenting Percy's owner Philip Brownell says serious consideration will be given to stumping up a 10 grand supplementary fee for Kempton's 32 red King George as a sixth chase if conditions closer to home are not suitably soft. So that'll be interesting to watch on Stephen's Day. The Irish News. I'll do the Irish News now before I get to the Independent there, yeah. Stick up the Irish News. McGuinness, new hand pass rule is a threat to the Dubs. That's the one take on it. Frampton accuses Warrington of arrogance. So the bubbling future for Carl Frampton and what's going to happen next. Let's wait and see with that one. So just the Irish Independent. Teenage kicks for Troy. Barca run out for Rising Star. So this is interesting. Troy Parrott was part of the matchday squad at the weekend for the Premier League game. He's obviously the Wunderkind, who's Irish, probably, not going to go and play for England at any point in the future, Irish. And we're like, oh, that's nice. He got to go to the Premier League match, but he's actually in Barcelona. Tottenham 16-year-old Irish midfielder, Troy Parrott, second left. There he is. Pictured training at the new camp alongside Harry Kane. It's a rondo at the new camp. For like a 60. Put him in the team, I say. Put him right in the team. He's done a rondo in the new camp. Put him in the team. I want him and Obafemi first game, and I don't care who's fit or who's not fit. Put him in the team. He's only got 5,000 followers.
Surely the least followed Irish debutant if he does play against Gibraltar.
At Troy Parrott 9.
But Gibraltar is the perfect game to just send out the future and kind of show us a glimpse of what might be possible. The thing is,
let's heap our entire country's future onto the sturdy shoulders of a 16 and a 17-year-old and let's not care about it at all. But let's get him in the team.
The great thing about this is we need to get used to an Irish player who's going to be taken and conditioned to actually get used to the idea of being good and being spoken about in a very positive way. Like Maurizio Pochettino in his pre-match press conference yesterday was talking about Kyle Walker-Peters as if he was Lionel Messi himself. He said, well, Kyle Walker-Peters is one of the great talents we have in this club and we've got three absolutely outstanding players in that position at full-back. That is how he will probably refer to Troy Parrott once he starts to come into the team. Who knows when it may be, in a couple of months, maybe it could be a year before he actually makes a full debut perhaps. I suspect it might be a bit shorter than that. But the thing is, Maurizio Pochettino tends to take these kids and talk about them as if he's their own son. And that is just the beauty of the way he manages. And we need to get used to that because we don't have it too often in the Ireland setup. We certainly haven't had it in recent years.
Here's what happens. He gets in the team. Pochettino gets a different job. New manager comes in and he's forced to spend a period of time in the wilderness. Yeah, oh God, how grim would that be? But that is the most Spurs response to losing Pochettino.
But at that point, Jose Mourinho.
Yeah, but no, it's like so when Tardelli comes in at Inter. Like straight out Robbie Keane. No, who's this guy? No, I need to win games. I need big old-fashioned burly strikers who are, instead of actually working with Robbie Keane. Maybe, Marco, you would have been a better manager if you'd stuck with the 17-year-old Robbie Keane. Lancaster very happy at Leinster, but leaves door open for Farrell. And then Klopp looking for something special in Red's Euro mission. We'll talk about Liverpool a little bit later on with Graham Hunter. Mullinachta miracle shows others that dreams can come true. Controversial. This is the headline of Michael Verney's piece. I mean, as Darren was saying, just a bit of hard work and organisation, and sure you can take on the Dubs.
No, that's it. That's the one thing we need to learn from all of this, is that everybody else has just been a failure, especially inter-county teams that are spending so much. Back page of the Herald this morning is we can handle the heat. Van Dijk insists Reds can mount double assault, while new rules could see Dubs turn on style. Interesting how the comments have been construed in different ways for the headline. So Dublin are going to get more stylish because of the new rules, says the back of the Herald. The back of the Irish Daily Mail says new rules will hurt Dublin, says McGuinness, but the main headline is an Irish stew. Lancaster may join Farrell in the Ireland setup. So Stuart Lancaster speaking at the Leinster press conference yesterday in the middle of the Bath doubleheader, saying that he's happy with Leinster, but his ears are always pricked in case there's a job opportunity. He wishes Andy Farrell well, and if in 12 months' time Andy Farrell comes knocking to say, do you want to join the Ireland setup? He's probably going to listen to an offer. Like, that's what I'm reading from what Stuart Lancaster said yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly wasn't, look, I'm doing my time here as a head coach or a coach. Next job is going to be fully in charge on my own. He didn't say that.
No, he didn't say that at all.
He was like, hey, there's a good chance here we might get this, might work.
Is Farrell and Lancaster a better matchup than Cullen and Lancaster? You would suggest that perhaps because of their background it might be, but I'm not so sure about that. Like, you just don't know about the different skill sets and what exactly
They're completely different things, though.
They are completely different things, and there's no way of actually finding out which would actually be better. But I'm not sure. Like, does Leinster benefit more from the top-down approach, from having better coaches in the Ireland setup, and then whoever may take Lancaster's job and Leinster may get a new opportunity? I don't know what the situation may be. The thing is, the way Lancaster's talking about it, no decision is going to be made for another 12 months. So can we say that he's safe, that Bath...
That's not true. His contract's up at the end of the season.
Good point. But Farrell will be putting his back team together.
There'll be a decision made on
this
in the next 6 to 8 weeks.
Do you think so?
Well, so
he said something about the end of next year that Farrell will start putting together his backroom team. I'm sure behind closed doors.
Yeah, and it'll be made public one way or another, because every club in World Rugby / so the Australia coaching thing, that's all happening at the moment this week. Just keep an eye on Australia to see if a volcano erupts, and that'll be Michael Cheika going, nah.
What's the domino that Australia can affect?
Maybe Australia ring up Stuart Lancaster and go, here's a 9-month job for you. You can do what you want. You've got full control, and you've got the World Cup in your hands. Hard job to turn down.
Yeah, there's also many reasons why you wouldn't take the job. Like moving further and further away from your family. At least you're within one.
But this is for like a very short window.
Just for the World Cup.
Yeah. And look, I'm not saying,
it'd be a nice holiday, I guess.
It's a high pressure holiday, but yeah.
It's a very high pressure holiday, but sure. It's only playing second fiddle to rugby league down there, isn't it? Back page of the Sun is New Can Be Heroes, Poch plots greatest European comeback. The back of the Star then this morning is All or Nothing, Klopp up for the big one. And Owen Coleman, says the headline with regards to last night's 2-2 draw in the Premier League. Power nap is the back of the Mirror. Klopp's backing a special night at Anfield to help Liverpool meet the challenge. And a couple of the UK back pages. The Daily Telegraph says Messi alert. Spurs face Barcelona Maestro in Nou Camp as Champions League hopes hang by a thread. And moment of truth, says the back of The Guardian. Tottenham and Liverpool plan to march into Champions League knockouts with victories. And Rob Cross has also spoken to Donald McRae, saying after the World Darts final, it was like I'd hit rock bottom.
Who's Rob Cross?
World Darts champion. Not a real sport in your view, is a real sport in my view. He is a real human, and it's a good human story that he's spoken to Donald McRae about.
I'm not doubting that he's a real human. Line of the day in the newspapers?
It's we might get to that a little bit.
All right, okay, we'll say that one for later on. There is also some breaking news about the extreme lengths that Kerry GAA are going to try and stave off the threat of Aussie rules football. We'll bring you that a little bit later on. Owen has put his journalism hat on. He's got out his notebook, his spiral notebook, and he's got his pen, and he's written down in shorthand the extreme lengths that Kerry GAA are going to keep their the clutches, the meaty clutches of the filthy Australian lucre away from their best players. So that's our breakfast menu coming up a little bit later on. We're gonna do it now. Okay, so stay, work, play, Kerry, sports best bromances, Irish begrudgery, Liverpool Olympiacos, and Leinster's second season. So it's not quite Leinster's second season, but certainly it is their first season after being the European champions. Everybody's saying that they've got a target on their backs, and Rory O'Connor's got an interesting theory, really, which he's put forward in the Irish Independent today, that, when you strip Leinster of all the strength and depth that they have to try and, help the other provinces who can't get their own house in order with their academies, then lo and behold, Leinster become a slightly weakened team.
turns out strength in depth is actually important to winning 2 trophies in a season. So, like Rory O'Connor does point out that there's a very good possibility that Leinster are still going to top this pool, and there's a very good possibility they'll still get a home quarter final. But there have been signs of weakness, I guess, when it comes to depth. For example, if they had Jordy Murphy at the weekend, he probably would have been the number 8 instead of Dan Levy. Would Noel Reid have started if he's in a stable was still in the fold? Maybe not. Would Rob Kearney have started? Would Joey Carberry have started at full back, basically, is the question, if he was still around the camp. So all these different options, more headaches for Cullen and Lancaster, but ultimately the options that got them to a position where they were so seemingly invincible last season, and that invincibility, I think it's fair to say, has been a little bit chipped away at this season. Like, I would say they're still very much the strongest team in Europe, but they're far more beatable than you would say they were last season, and we've seen it. We've seen it in Toulouse. We've seen it even at times against Bath at the weekend. If Bath had had Reece Priestland on the pitch on Saturday, how different the results would it have been? Maybe it wouldn't have been different at all, but we just don't know the answer to that question. So there's little elements of fallibility sneaking in here, and it is just kind of comes back down to this thing that is just so important in rugby more than any other sport, which is if you've got an amazing squad and you can put together a 23 that is unbelievable every single week like Leinster did last season, you're probably going to win a bit of silverware every single year.
Except, and here's the point, the new players coming in need time to bed in, and they haven't had that opportunity just yet. So like when you think back to, it was 3 seasons ago when Leinster had their disaster in European competition, suffering record defeats home and away, and it was a team full of kids who are now seasoned internationals. Some of the next generation of younger players have to come in, and at least they're coming into a winning environment, whereas at that point, that was just after Sexton had come back and said that the culture had disappeared when he did that interview that time. And like, I don't know, I think that it's fairly natural that some of these players are going to take a beat as well to get back up to the level that they were at last season, because you can't be the best team in Europe over a sustained period of time, especially in a sport like rugby.
The thing is as well, the whole Levy playing at 8 thing sends a message to the likes of Caelan Doris and Max Deegan that this is the standard you need to get to. Just because there's an opportunity there at 8, and maybe positionally you're more accustomed to playing number 8 than Dan Levy is, doesn't mean you're going to automatically go into the starting 15.
It is a kick in the ass for them, and not necessarily a bad thing for them to
no, not at all.
Their career, assuming that they respond in the right way. Also, like, can we potentially maybe get this back row all to play at the same time in the future? Is that a possibility? What happens when Sean O'Brien comes back? Can you have O'Brien, Van der Fleer and Levy in the same team?
Well, the thing is, you were making the point yesterday that was Levy's performance so bad, or is it actually the start of something that could be a pretty bright future? We forget what age Dan Levy is. Like, there is, like, we can't just say that he can't learn the position of number 8 given the similarity of his usual position. Like, I know he's a little bit older than, say, the Andrew Porter transformation, but the Andrew Porter transformation is a far bigger technical shift than going from a flanker to a number 8.
Yeah, okay.
And I think it's just, we'll bring back up the breakfast menu here. We've done bromances, we've done second season syndrome, so we'll get into Liverpool Olympiacos here. 2004, as I say, the season Liverpool win the Premier League, or win the Champions League, I should say, Istanbul and all that. So who is the one single reason?
Olympiacos is the
Rivaldo team.
Stephen Gerrard, you beauty.
Stephen Gerrard, you beauty. Exactly. What a hit. Andy Gray. Watching it this morning. It's pretty good commentary. I was just about to ask, who is the single most important figure behind Liverpool surviving and winning the Champions League that season? And, you know, it's very hard to make an argument that it's not Stephen Gerrard, but I give you one other name. Florent Cinema Pangol.
Flopo.
I think Stephen Gerrard wouldn't be a Liverpool player beyond January 2005. Liverpool certainly wouldn't have got out of the group stages of the Champions League that season were it not for Flopo.
What did he do?
Flopo came on and was sensational that evening against Olympiacos.
Was he?
He was absolutely sensational. So he does really well for the Mellor goal. He scores with like one of his first touches when he comes on. They needed, obviously, that's why the hallmarks are so parallel to tonight, that they needed to win by 2 clear goals. Stephen Gerrard's goal wouldn't have mattered were it not for Flopo's goal. Mellor wouldn't have scored a goal.
This is the home leg.
This is when they beat Olympiacos 3-1.
Right. The Gerrard goal is the 2-2 draw, right?
No.
Is it not?
No. Liverpool beat Olympiacos 3-1 on the last evening of the Champions League group stages in 2004.
Fair point. Yes, okay.
And after 24 minutes, they take off Jimmy Traore and they bring on Cinema Pangol. and he changes the face of Liverpool football forever, because Jamie Carragher has said, Steven Gerrard himself has said that he was going to go to Chelsea if they didn't qualify for the knockout stages that season.
I mean, he says that, but then they would have shown up at his house and said, you're not leaving, like they did to both him and to Wayne Rooney, and everyone's like, okay, not leaving.
Do you think Steven Gerrard would just settle for that?
I think that if they call to your house and Liverpool offer you the same amount of money, you're like, okay.
But you had a chance of actually winning things with Chelsea. Remember, this was when Chelsea were putting together a team that were going to win the Champions League any season now. Of course, it did take them another 8 years.
In the midst of that, he's talking about, they're in the group stages of the Champions League, and Gerrard has a comment at a press conference. It was like, you know, we don't really have a hope of winning this competition. Or there was something along the lines that was suggested that, oh, we're building for the future here, we're getting experience for the tournament. And Benitez was like, well, he needs to shut up. We're in this competition to win it. And everyone was like, come on, they're not going to win the Champions League. I mean, they shouldn't have. A couple of times. Should have been knocked out of that tournament.
Yeah, like, sometimes it's just...
everywhere, pretty much at every step of the way, but...
You're saying it's a fluke, Ger. Is that what you're trying to say this morning?
No, I'm saying the tension between Gerrard and Benitez was pretty interesting that season.
It was.
And Steven Gerrard did not believe that they were going to be able to win it.
No, well, clearly he had his move lined up to go to Chelsea. Let's move on to Irish begrudgery, because it's in the papers everywhere this morning around Jim McGuinness. Jim McGuinness saying that people are waiting for the day to arrive that they see him fail. He's, of course, going over to North Carolina to train in America, and people want to see the GAA guy fall. Do you agree with this? Do you think that there's people in this country of note who might want to see him fail?
What are you talking about of note, people of note? What do you mean?
I don't know. You know, Irish begrudgers is what I'm trying to say.
I don't think that, there are 100% Irish begrudgers who want Jim McGuinness to fail. I think that that's separate from the people who think that he might not succeed because he hasn't got the experience.
So
that's what I'm saying.
They're making a calculation.
You're saying Kevin Kilban. That's what you're saying.
Kevin Kilban, what's he had to say about Jim McGuinness?
I have no idea.
I don't know, you brought his name into the mix.
You were. I hope, Kevin, you see what young Oisin has done here. This is the type of stuff that I think Andy Lees called it, his mouth is writing checks his body can't cash.
His ass can't cash, yeah.
Ass can't cash.
Yeah, that's a pretty terrifying line, to be quite honest with you. So I'm not going to write any more checks, but separately to...
You've done the same thing here. You found Kevin Kilban under a Jim McGuinness shaped bus. You
literally mentioned his name.
You obviously were breadcrumbing it. And
no,
I was just like...
I was saying that there are people in Ireland who want to see Jim McGuinness fail.
High profile people, you said.
There are potentially other high profile people who want to see Jim McGuinness fail.
Name names their own.
I'm not going to name names.
Go on, you just named Kevin Kilban.
I'm not going to write any more checks.
He's never really coached a team. He'll have to learn very quickly. There are a lot of managers in better position to get the job. That was him being linked with the Galway United job months and months ago. And look, here's the thing. He's not being a begrudger. Not at all.
He's just giving a take.
Yeah.
I'm saying separately to that.
There are absolutely begrudgers, but I don't think anybody can begrudge him going away to Carolina. It's not even the MLS. These are the hard yards. This is the bit where you go and you risk everything. And I have endless admiration for what Jim McGuinness is doing at this point, where he could easily have just taken a couple of cushy GAA jobs, gone and replicated exactly what he's done before. And how many Irish people do that? How many are like, yeah, I've been successful with this one thing, and I'm going to play that trick out again and again and again and again. And at the end of my life, I'd be like, yeah, that was pretty comfortable. I reached like the big fish, small pond, absolutely perfect. But he's looked at the biggest pond in world sport, which is football management, and gone, yeah, you know what? I can be competitive in this, and I can learn and learn and learn. And he's gone to China and taken a job which is the very definition of off Broadway, and has come back and learned from that. And let's see how he does. I really, really hope he's successful.
He said in his interviews this morning that going back to Donegal or taking another GAA job would have been just as high risk. Fair play to him for saying that, because it's not. At the same time, going back a second time and being the Messiah, the only man who's beaten Jim Gavin team in the last few years in Championship football, comes with its own set of pressures. You suddenly set a very high bar for yourself. If you go back to Donegal, they suddenly expect All Irelands. And
yeah.
Who knows if they're in a position to actually do that? And it's not only against Donegal, it's just due to the fact that Dublin have opened up this massive gap.
Sure, but if he went back to Donegal, he could literally be the Donegal manager for 10 years and almost nothing. Like, he would need to get absolutely hammered out the gate 4 years in a row before they would go, maybe you've had your chance. Like, because he delivered it once, there will be this kind of long-term residual, okay, you can keep that job now. That's my take. It's possible that it's wrong, but I actually really firmly believe that going to Carolina to coach in is it the second tier? Is it actually the second tier? Is it the third tier? It's like it's definitely not the top tier. Is the hard yards where the money won't be spectacular. The ask for your family is like, can we go away? And Carolina, the climate's very nice. It's a nice part of the world to live in. It's got that
great golf courses,
Atlantic coast. Pretty beautiful.
Yeah, it's nice. It's not bad. So there are perks to the job.
Is it Charlotte? Is that where the team is? Is it Charlotte?
It's literally the only city I know in North Carolina. So
Charlotte.
Let's go with that.
Charlotte's inland. Well, so it has like these kind of keys that are like it's supposed to be astonishingly nice holiday resorts that nobody ever hears about in Ireland because like, oh, Myrtle Beach is Carolina. Wow. You've heard of Charleston? The thing you dance?
Oh yeah, I've heard of Charleston and I've heard of white supremacy.
Have you?
Yeah, that was where the Unite the Right movement took place.
Oh wow!
I remember. So I have heard of 2 cities actually in North Carolina. Didn't know that. I thought that was in a different part of that country.
Charleston, South Carolina.
Well there you go. So you got that one wrong, Ger.
I did, yeah. So is Myrtle Beach. There's like a dotted line there. So there is a Jacksonville. That's not the Jacksonville you know and love. Greensboro, North Carolina.
I'm really enjoying this. Just you listing off
Fayetteville,
towns in
Knoxville. No, it's Knoxville, Tennessee. Where's the Tennessee border there? There you go.
You done with listing off North Carolina cities?
Yeah.
Because there's one other story we wanted to get to on Breakfast Menu this morning. It's this document that we'd heard about. This document we'd heard about a couple of weeks ago called "Stay, Play and Work in Kerry." And it's been brought into the public sphere now. It's on the record now because it's been spoken about by their chairman, Tim Murphy. So there's been a task force set up, headed up by Diarmuid O'Shea, which published this document called Stay, Play and Work in Kerry, which, as the title suggests, it's basically there to convince players not to go to Australia. So Tim Murphy, the chairman, has said that the committee is going to continue in their endeavours to ensure that all other players considering a move are given the benefit of choosing an attractive alternative to remain here at home. This is the cover of it. David Clifford appearing on it, and we can open the booklet to show you one of the paragraphs inside, which looks like this. During the course of our work, we sought expert advice from local and regional leaders in the field of, I presume, keeping people at home. The following gave us worthwhile and insightful presentations to help our committee work effectively and promptly, for which we are grateful, etc., etc. But basically, it says we have compiled this detailed information booklet with a view to inform club and county players of all training, upskilling and educational courses available to them within the county, provide players with access to job application services, and notify players of employment opportunities. Nothing wrong with notifying players of employment opportunities or showing them the options at their disposal. There's nothing about this that's telling them you have to stay at home, of course. It's just giving them the option. And sometimes an option is a good thing.
Is this just something that they've decided to stick down in booklet form?
Because David Clifford was very bloody close to leaving. That is why this is, and Stefan O'Cunbar has left.
Why do you need a book? Well, I mean...
Well, it's a suite of services. It's like, it sits there on your tabletop and you're like, oh... phone ringing from the Geelong head coach.
It's for the Maz though, isn't it? This is really for the Maz to go, here, look.
It's prospectus you bring home in your school bag.
Yeah, but you don't read it. There's no teenager in the world who reads that stuff, really.
I read a couple of prospectuses cover to cover.
I mean, you weren't a supremely gifted athlete who might be considered...
That's a very good point. I did forget about that key part of information right there.
You're like, this might be important to me, but these are like supremely gifted athletes who are going to, coast through school and life because, hey, they're jocks.
Yeah, I do wonder if, like...
Did they not make a video? I mean, I think we should put together what the video would look like. I think, hey, I mean, that would be pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's...
Gooch in the bank. And Maurice Fitz doing a little bit of auctioneering.
Yeah.
There's a range of...
and then kind of a Skype line to Mark O'Connor having a terrible time in Australia saying, oh, it's really bad down here.
It's all fuzzy. The weather's really bad.
Yeah, the Skype is even worse.
Potatoes are crap.
Yeah, so let's see. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out over the next couple of years. If the booklet is going to be like Kerry's version of the Blue Book in terms of keeping people in tow. That's very different, though, obviously.
What do you think of this? Like, legitimately, what do you think of it? Necessary fight back against those rampaging hordes of Australians offering filthy lucre to our young athletes, trying to waylay them with a life of sunshine, professional sport, and riches beyond their wildest dreams.
I do think playing for Kerry is a huge privilege for all those people, and they will have success. So I don't feel as queasy about it as if it was from somewhere else, if you know what I'm trying to say. That the price of actually being a GA player for Kerry actually isn't that much. So what you get back in return is actually quite good. You get a pretty high profile. You probably get work off the back of it. It's a nice place to be an inter-county footballer for. I do think, though, the prioritisation of where your life is at in terms of is this actually what I want to be doing, and do I put my education and my job on the back burner to satisfy me staying in Kerry or whatever that may be. I'm not so sure about that.
Is this an attempt to address that though, and say, look, there are all these actual options open to you. We're not just going to put you in a job where you're selling stuff even if you can't sell?
Well, that's the thing. I would presume so. I would say that there is a very strong argument to be made that you could get just as good an education in IT Tralee as you can in a number of other institutions around Munster, for example, in certain areas. Like David Clifford obviously did that over the last year or so. So I think there's certainly truth in that sometimes the grass is greener on the other side, and you got to get to a bigger place to do bigger things is what the theory sometimes is.
And at the same time though, you've got to go out and experience life. You can't just be living in the 2 square miles of Fireys. Is that where you're from?
Yeah, but like I'm here.
Exactly. There you go. And so should all the young Kerry lads to get out and
stay and play for Kerry. We need an All-Ireland soon.